I stood there as Marcus pointed at my outfit and laughed, his new wife Diana joining in, her designer bag swinging as she mocked my Walmart shoes. His parents sneered from their luxury car, the same people who'd made me sign away my rights to the business we built together 3 years ago. They'd stolen everything and left me with nothing. But when that black Mercedes pulled up and the driver stepped out saying, "Ms. Rodriguez, the investors are waiting for your presentation," and pointed to the 40-foot billboard across the street with my face and my company name, I watched their smiles melt like ice in hellfire. Let me tell you how a broken woman became the CEO they never saw coming. If you love a story about rising from the ashes, smash that subscribe button right now. Trust me, you'll want every single detail. Let's go. 3 years ago, I thought Marcus and I were building an empire together. We met at a startup incubator, both of us hungry, ambitious, working 20-hour days in a cramped co-working space that smelled like burned coffee and broken dreams. We were developing an AI-powered scheduling app for healthcare workers, something that could actually save lives by preventing burnout and scheduling errors. Marcus was brilliant with code. I was the business mind, the one who understood market fit, customer acquisition, how to actually make money from innovation. We were perfect complements. He'd work on the back end while I pitched investors. We'd celebrate every small win with cheap takeout and cheaper wine. He told me I was his partner in every sense of the word, business and life. "We're going to change the world together," he'd say, pulling me close in our tiny apartment. "You and me against everyone." I believed him completely. We had a partnership marriage. We signed papers at City Hall with 2 random witnesses, then went back to work. No honeymoon, no big celebration, we were too focused on building our dream. That should have been my first clue. You can't build a marriage the same way you build a startup. Meeting his family was like walking into a corporate boardroom designed to intimidate. His father, Richard, was a venture capitalist worth hundreds of millions. His mother, Patricia, came from old money, the kind that makes new money look desperate. They lived in a mansion in Greenwich that had a name, like it was a character in its own story. The first dinner, Patricia looked at my resume before looking at my face. "State school," she said, "not a question, an accusation." How accessible. Richard barely acknowledged me. He spent 20 minutes explaining cap tables and equity structures to Marcus, like I wasn't sitting right there, even though I'd structured our entire company's financing. His sister, Caroline, was worse. She worked in fashion PR and treated me like I was wearing a garbage bag. "Is that polyester?" she asked, touching my dress sleeve like it might contaminate her. How very practical. That dinner lasted 4 hours. They made me feel like an outsider in every conversation, dismissed my business insights, and forgot to include me in the family photo afterward. Marcus said nothing. He just smiled and played the perfect son. The cruelty became systematic. Patricia would send Marcus articles about successful entrepreneur couples, always featuring wives from better backgrounds. Caroline would post on social media about knowing your worth and the importance of strategic partnerships, tagging Marcus but never me. Richard started attending our investor meetings uninvited. He'd undermine me subtly, interrupting my presentations, correcting my financial projections, suggesting Marcus should handle the important conversations. Then Diana appeared. She was a Harvard MBA, from a family that owned a private equity firm, spoke 4 languages, wore shoes that cost more than my car payment. She coincidentally started showing up at the same networking events we attended. Patricia loved her immediately. "Now this is the kind of partner a man like Marcus needs," she said, loud enough for me to hear at a charity gala. Sophisticated. Connected. Appropriate. I watched Marcus change. He started dressing differently, talking differently. He'd come home late smelling like expensive perfume. When I confronted him, he told me I was insecure and threatened by successful women. The gaslighting was surgical. He made me doubt my own memory of conversations. He'd make decisions about our company without telling me, then act surprised when I objected. "We talked about this," he'd say. "You're so stressed lately, you must have forgotten." I'd find emails between him and his father about restructuring the company and protecting the real assets. When I asked about it, Marcus said I was paranoid and not thinking clearly. Caroline actually said to me at a family brunch, "You know, Marcus would be so much more successful without the weight of your limitations." The breaking point came on a Thursday morning. Marcus called an emergency board meeting, at his parents' house, not our office. I arrived to find Richard, 2 lawyers I'd never met, and Diana sitting at the conference table. "We're restructuring," Richard announced. "The company needs more sophisticated leadership." They'd rewritten everything. Marcus owned 80%, I owned 20%. He was CEO, I was creative consultant. They'd issued new shares that diluted my stake to almost nothing. All completely legal because I'd signed a document 6 months earlier that Marcus said was just standard paperwork for a new funding round. I'd signed away my own company without knowing it. "You can stay on in a reduced capacity," Marcus said, not meeting my eyes. "Or we can buy you out for $50,000. $50,000. For a company worth $8 million that I'd spent 3 years building. Take the money," Patricia said coldly. "It's more than generous given your contribution level." I looked at Marcus, the man who'd said we were partners, who'd promised we'd build this together. He stared at his phone. I took the money. What choice did I have? I couldn't afford lawyers to fight his family's legal team. 2 months later, I saw the announcement. Marcus and Diana were engaged. The wedding would be at the family estate in Greenwich. Patricia was quoted in the society pages, "We're so thrilled Marcus found someone truly worthy of the family legacy." They sent me a wedding invitation. I'm not joking. Someone actually mailed me an invitation to watch Marcus marry the woman who helped steal my company. The card was cream-colored with gold embossing. I cried for a week. Then I ran out of tears. Rock bottom was a studio apartment in a building where the elevator worked twice a week. I had $3,247 in my bank account after paying first, last, and deposit. I ate ramen and peanut butter for 2 months straight. Not the fancy ramen, the 29-cent kind that tastes like salted cardboard. I couldn't get hired anywhere in tech. Richard's network was extensive, and somehow every interview ended the same way: "We've decided to go with someone more aligned with our company culture." I worked retail for a while, folding clothes at a department store. One day Diana came in, didn't even recognize me, and complained when I couldn't find her size in a designer dress. I quit that afternoon. Some days I didn't get out of bed. What was the point? I'd lost my company, my marriage, my career, my reputation. I was 29 years old and completely destroyed. Then my Aunt Rosa came to visit. She was my mom's sister, a woman who'd immigrated from Mexico with $200 and built a successful catering company through pure determination. She found me sitting on the floor, surrounded by job rejection emails, barely functioning. She didn't pity me. She sat down, looked me in the eye, and said, "Mija, they took your company. They didn't take your brain." Then she offered me something that changed everything. She had $25,000 saved for her retirement. "Use it," she said. "Start something new. But this time, you own it, all of it." I couldn't take her retirement money. "What if I fail?" I asked, my voice cracking. "What if I lose everything you've saved?" Aunt Rosa smiled. "You already lost everything and survived. That means you're indestructible." Something in those words broke through my despair. I took the money. I used every penny to develop a new app, this time targeting the home healthcare market, independent nurses and caretakers who needed scheduling tools but couldn't afford enterprise software. I coded it myself, learning from YouTube videos at 2 a.m. I handled customer service from my phone. I did my own marketing with free Canva templates and whatever social media hustle I could manage. I was the founder, the developer, the sales team, the support staff, everything. I called it ScheduleRx. I launched it from my studio apartment with zero fanfare. The first month, I had 47 users. The second month, I couldn't afford hosting fees and had to borrow money from a friend. I thought about quitting at least twice a week. But something strange started happening. Users loved it. They left 5-star reviews. They told their colleagues. Healthcare workers started sharing it in their online communities. Finally something built for us, not massive hospital systems. By month 4, I had 2,000 users. By month 6, 15,000. The app was growing organically, through word of mouth, because it actually solved a real problem. Then one morning I got a message that changed everything. It was from a man named James Chen, founder of a healthcare tech investment fund. He'd been watching my user growth and wanted to talk. We met at a coffee shop. I wore the same interview clothes I'd worn a dozen times. I expected another dismissive pitch meeting. Instead, James spent 2 hours asking about my vision, my market research, my expansion plans. He actually listened. At the end, he said something I'll never forget: "You're solving a real problem, not just chasing venture capital. That's rare. How much runway do you need?" We talked numbers. He didn't lowball me or try to take control. He offered fair terms, $2 million investment for 15% equity, with me maintaining full operational control as CEO. I looked at this stranger offering me a second chance and said, "I need everything in writing, reviewed by my lawyer, before I sign anything." I expected him to be offended. Instead, James smiled. "Good. Never trust anyone who doesn't want you protected." That's when I knew he was different. I took the investment. I hired a team. I paid Aunt Rosa back 5 times what she'd given me, and she cried when I handed her the check. We expanded to 15 states in 8 months. James and I worked closely, and slowly, very slowly, friendship turned into something more. It wasn't fireworks. It was late nights reviewing user feedback, him bringing me coffee when I was stressed, celebrating every milestone like it mattered. He didn't try to take over or mansplain tech to me. He asked my opinion. He respected my decisions. He saw me as an equal. Love grew in the quiet spaces between work and life. It was him noticing when I was overwhelmed and suggesting I take a day off. It was the way he celebrated my wins without trying to claim credit. It was how he supported me through setbacks without making me feel weak. He didn't try to fix me. He just stood beside me while I fixed myself. 18 months after taking his investment, ScheduleRx had 500,000 active users across 35 states. The company was valued at $50 million. Healthcare journals were writing about us. I'd been invited to speak at HIMSS, the biggest health tech conference in the world. I'd paid back every penny I'd borrowed. I'd hired 47 employees and offered them equity, real equity, the kind no one could take away. I was a CEO, a leader, a survivor. James proposed on a quiet Sunday morning in my apartment. Nothing elaborate, no photographers or staged moments, just him, me, and coffee on the couch. "You built this yourself," he said, holding my hands. "I just want to keep watching you build. Together, if you'll have me. No family pressure, no business motives, no games." I said yes because I wanted to, not because I needed to. Our wedding was small, 30 people who genuinely mattered. Aunt Rosa walked me down the aisle, tears streaming down her face. Number 200-person guest list, no society pages coverage, no performance. Just love. Real, honest, equal love. I became Sofia Rodriguez-Chan. And this time, sharing a name didn't feel like losing myself. It felt like gaining a true partner. 3 years after Marcus stole my company, I was 32, thriving, and genuinely happy. I was flying to San Francisco for a major conference where I was keynote speaker, me, the creative consultant they'd tried to sideline, headlining a conference with 10,000 attendees. James was back in New York handling a separate deal, so I was traveling solo. Well, not entirely solo. My assistant Kevin was meeting me there, and I'd stopped by a coffee shop near the convention center to grab breakfast before soundcheck. I was dressed casually that day, jeans, a nice blouse, comfortable sneakers. I'd learned that confidence doesn't need designer labels. I didn't need to prove anything to anyone anymore. I was checking my phone when I heard her laugh. That specific, condescending laugh I'd heard 1,000 times. "Diana." I looked up and my entire world tilted. There they were, Marcus, Diana, Richard, Patricia, Caroline, all of them dressed for the conference, heading to what looked like an exhibition booth. Diana was glowing, polished, her hand hooked through Marcus's arm. They were the picture of success. Then Caroline saw me. Her eyes went wide. "Oh my God. Sophia?" Time stopped. 3 years vanished. Suddenly I was that broken girl again, signing away her company, crying in a studio apartment. Patricia's face twisted into that familiar cruel expression. Marcus went pale, nearly dropping his conference badge. Diana's confusion shifted to recognition to that slow, satisfied smirk I remembered. My heart pounded. Every instinct screamed to run, to hide, to disappear. But I stood there as they approached like predators who'd spotted wounded prey. Caroline struck first, her voice carrying across the coffee shop. "Wow, Sophia, still shopping at Target, I see." She gestured at my jeans with mock pity. Patricia followed immediately. "I'm surprised you can afford conference admission, dear. Did you sneak in?" Richard chuckled, that same dismissive sound. Probably here hoping to network her way into a real job. I stayed silent. Inside, then old shame tried to crawl back, tried to tell me I was nothing again. Diana stepped forward, her designer dress catching the light. "Some of us actually succeeded in tech," she said sweetly. "Others just tried." Caroline laughed, loud enough for everyone to hear. Phones were already coming out. I could see it happening, another humiliation going viral. Then Marcus stepped forward, and his voice rose above the coffee shop noise. Still pretending to be an entrepreneur, Sophia? Real anger in his voice. You couldn't handle the real business. That's why we had to remove you. You weren't cut out for it. He was almost shouting now. People were stopping, staring, forming a circle. You were dead weight. A liability. We saved the company by getting rid of you. Face it, you'll never build anything that matters. The family joined in like a chorus. Patricia, Marcus made the right choice cutting you loose. Richard, you should thank us for teaching you your real place. Caroline, how embarrassing seeing us here as exhibitors while you're... What? Looking for samples? They circled me, voices overlapping, words designed to destroy. I felt eyes on me, heard whispers, saw cameras pointed at us. The old Sophia would have crumbled. Would have cried. Would have run away to hide her shame. But I wasn't her anymore. Just as Marcus opened his mouth again, a young woman in a conference staff shirt approached our group. "Excuse me," she said professionally. "I'm looking for Sofia Rodriguez-Chen? We need to do a sound check for the keynote speech." Everything stopped. Marcus's mouth hung open mid-sentence. Diana's smirk died. Patricia grabbed Richard's arm like she needed support. Caroline just stared. "Keynote?" Marcus finally managed, his voice cracking. The staff member checked her tablet. "Yes, Ms. Rodriguez-Chen is our 10 a.m. keynote speaker." "The main stage?" She looked at me. "We're ready for you whenever you are, Ms. Rodriguez-Chen." I picked up my coffee. Still didn't say a word. "Wait," Diana said, desperation creeping in. "There must be some mistake. She's not." I walked past them. The staff member guided me toward the convention center, past the registration desk, past the exhibition floor, to the VIP speaker entrance. I heard them following, their expensive shoes clicking on the polished floor. They couldn't follow past security, but they could see through the massive glass windows into the main hall. What they saw made their entire world crumble. The main stage was massive, with my face on a 40-foot LED screen. The banner read, "Keynote, Sofia Rodriguez-Chen, founder and CEO, ScheduleRx, from startup to 500K users in 18 months. My face. My company. My story." Stage managers checked my mic. The event director briefed me on timing. A photographer asked for a pre-speech photo for the conference social media. Through the glass, I saw them. Marcus pressing his hand against the window. Diana's face completely drained of color. Patricia looking like she might faint. Richard's confident posture crumbling. Caroline covering her mouth in shock. Our eyes met, Marcus's and mine, through that glass barrier. 3 years of pain. Of humiliation. Of nights crying myself to sleep. Of rebuilding myself from nothing. All of it looked back at me. I saw him mouth my name. Saw him trying to push past security. Saw his whole family standing there in their designer clothes and exhibitor badges, realizing the girl they destroyed had become more than they could ever imagine. I smiled. Not bitter, not cruel. Just genuine and free. Then I gave them a small wave, the kind a queen gives to distant subjects, and walked onto that stage. 10,000 people applauded. My face filled screens throughout the convention center. And as I began my speech about resilience, innovation, and building something that actually matters, I watched them get smaller and smaller through the glass until they disappeared entirely. 3 years ago, they'd taken everything from me. Today, they couldn't touch me. The video went viral, of course. Someone had filmed the coffee shop confrontation and posted it with the caption, "Ex-business partner mocks woman in public." Then she walks onto stage as keynote speaker. Karma is brutal. Within 48 hours, 75 million views. People started digging. They found my story, found articles about ScheduleRx, found Marcus's company and realized he'd been sued twice for unethical business practices. Found Diana's family's PE firm had been investigated for fraud. Marcus's reputation crumbled. Diana left him 8 months later. Turns out she'd been having an affair with his father's business associate. The poetic justice was almost too perfect. Caroline deleted all social media after being recognized and confronted at industry events. Patricia tried to reach out through a mutual connection. "Perhaps we misjudged you." I blocked the number. Marcus tried everything. Emails, LinkedIn messages, calls to my office, all blocked. He showed up at a conference where I was speaking and security escorted him out. A handwritten letter arrived at my company headquarters. "I made the biggest mistake of my life. I'm sorry. Please, can we just talk?" I threw it away without reading past the first line. Some doors, once closed, should stay closed forever. 6 months after the conference incident, I was in my apartment, the nice one, with actual square footage and windows that worked, city lights twinkling below. James was beside me on the couch. Aunt Rosa was visiting for dinner. We were laughing about something silly, just enjoying each other's company. And I realized something profound. This was my revenge. Not the conference moment, not the viral video, not their public humiliation. This peace, this love, this life. This was the revenge. They'd tried to convince me I was dead weight, and I'd built a $50 million company. They'd tried to break my spirit, and I'd found real love with a man who treated me as an equal. They'd tried to take everything from me. And I'd created something they could never touch, never ruin, never take away, because I built it myself. People ask me all the time if I regret that day at the coffee shop. If I wish I'd said something clever to Marcus, some perfect comeback line for the cameras. The truth? Silence was my power. I didn't need to defend myself. My life defended me, every success, every achievement, every moment of genuine happiness. That was my response to their cruelty. They tried to break me. Instead, they freed me. The worst thing that ever happened to me became the best thing. Because I wouldn't be here without going through there. I wouldn't have Aunt Rosa's unwavering love, James's partnership, my company, my purpose, my unshakable strength, without first being completely shattered. Today, ScheduleRx has 2 million active users across all 50 states. We're expanding into Canada and the UK. I started a foundation that helps women in tech who've been pushed out of their companies, giving them the same chance Aunt Rosa gave me. My marriage to James is built on respect, equality, and genuine partnership. And every single day, I thank God for the pain that led me here. I won, not because of the keynote speech or the viral video or the company valuation. I won because I chose myself. I chose to rebuild. I chose to believe I was worth more than their cruelty. And that choice changed everything. So if you're going through hell right now, keep going. Your conference stage moment is coming. Maybe not literally, but in ways that matter so much more. Build yourself so strong that your success becomes the only response you need. That's the sweetest revenge there is. If this story resonated with you, smash that like button and subscribe for more real comeback stories. Drop a comment and tell me, what would you have done in that coffee shop? And remember, they can take everything from you except your ability to rise again. See you in the next video. Keep building.